Coin collectors, and welcome to another joint video between the United Kingdom Coin World channel and the DC Coin World Coin channel. And we're going to look today at the 1969 50 pence coin, or 50 new pence coin. But first, let's talk about where the 50 new pence came from. And that is from Great Britain, or the United Kingdom. When they decided to embrace decimalization, they actually issued a harbinger, or a messenger that came first, and that was this, the 1968 5 new pence coin. So in 1968, they issued a 5 new pence coin, and they said, okay, we're changing over. We're going to make this worth 1/20th of a British pound. And so the first one, actually 3 years before decimalization fully took place, they issued a 5 new pence coin in Great Britain. And then the next year, of course, 1969, they issued a 50p coin. And this is the 79 version of it. So from 1969 until 1981, they made this 50 pence coin. But they didn't call it a 50 pence coin, of course. They called it a 50 new pence coin. Why did they call it new pence? Because they issued it in 1969 before decimalization again. So decimalization did not occur in Great Britain until 1971. So when he issued this coin, they still had all the 3 pence and the shillings and all the 6 pence and all the other coins out there, the crown and the half crown. So when they issued this coin, they said, okay, this is part of the new, but we're going to keep the old for a little while. And this is why they called it a 50 new pence. And if we look on the back, we see that's Britannia. She has a trident and a olive branch. She has a lion at her feet and a Great Britain, a British shield here. It looks similar to the Union Jack. Now, when I say at her feet, if you get a nice, brilliant, uncirculated or proof version, you can actually see her feet and see how they come right down there and kind of tip over her toes, kind of round over the edge here. You can't really see that on a used coin much. And when you look at the proof coins, you can actually see kind of the straps of the gown. You can see how the folds come in by the shield, and the lion sitting there. You can see his eyes. You can see the helmet, the eye holes in the helmet, and the kind of feathering here. That's all on this coin new, if you can ever find one that's in that quality. This, what I showed you, was a brilliant uncirculated, which of course you have to buy in a set. Now, this 50 new pence coin, they made it for 13 years, but they only issued it 7 of those 13 years. In other words, for general circulation, this coin only came out in 7 different years between 1969 and 1981. And I'm not sure why they do that with the new pence, the 50 new pence, and they continue to do that with the 50 pence afterwards. This is the 1979 version of it. So in 1979, they issued 155.5 million for general circulation. They issued again in 1980, but they didn't actually, even though this coin version came from 1969 to 1981, they didn't issue it in a regular circulating version in 1981. So 1981 was one of the years they skipped. So 1980 is the last of the general circulation you'll find of this coin. Of course, it's Queen Elizabeth II. This is the Arnold Machin portrait with the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara at the top. It says Elizabeth II in front of her. DG Reg FD 1979. It is, of course, an equilateral curved heptagon, so it has kind of smooth edges, and it weighs a ton. It weighs 13.5 grams, so it's a big old coin, almost as big as a United States half dollar. If we put this on top of a Kennedy half, you'll see that there's some spaces where the Kennedy half sticks out around the edges, but this coin actually is a little tiny bit bigger, and if we flip it over, we can see that it actually sticks out a little tiny bit on the edges around the Kennedy half. So it's a big, heavy coin. They didn't make it many of the years, and people didn't use it much for some reason. They've always been kind of hopeful that people would. Now, in 1981, they stopped making this version, even in the proof sets, and they came out with a new version. And this is one of the newer versions. This is an 82. From 82 to 84, they came out with this version. Same portrait on the front, as you see. Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. And then, if we flip it over to the back, there is a slight difference, which sometimes people don't notice until you actually show it to them. And that is, it went from being a new penny, and I'm saying slight because everything else looks the same, and unless you know to look for it, sometimes you don't even see it. They went from a new penny, which ended in 1981, to a 50 pence coin, or a new pence. So they out with the new, in with the 50 in 1982. So from 1982 to 1984, they made this version of the coin, but of course they didn't make that every one of those 3 years either. They only made it in 82 and 83. And then in 1984, they didn't make it except in a proof version. And then they said, okay, well, let's make another new coin. And what they did was, in 1985, they came out with another 50 pence coin. And it is this one here. And I'm going to show you the 86 version of it. Same coin, but it's a new portrait. It's a Raphael David Makhlouf portrait. And you can see the RDM right down in there underneath her neck. This is the third portrait of Queen Elizabeth, and she's wearing, of course, the crown of George IV, of the George IV state diadem. Now, this portrait only was on the coin, on circulating coin, for 1 year on this particular coin. Even though I said they made it from 1985 to 1997, they only issued it for general circulation in 1 year, and that was 1985. So if you're looking for this coin, look for the 85. It's the only one you're going to be able to find in general circulation, but it is rarer than almost any other 50p coin, because between 1985 and 1991, 97, they only issued it for general circulation 1 year. So what do I have? Well, I have the 86, and the only way you can get an 86 is in brilliant uncirculated condition. Then they said, after they finished making these, and they did something interesting. They made this brilliant uncirculated version in 1997, and then they came out with a new circulating version the same year. And this is the 50 pence coin from 1997. Did you notice the difference? Well, let me show you. Of course, it's a different portrait. Same portrait as the 86, right? But look at the size. All right, so we got the Queen, and it's, of course, the third portrait. Look how much smaller it is. So this is the small 50p that came out in 1997. How many did they make? They made 456.5 million. So they made almost as many coins in 1997 of this small version as they had made total 50p coins prior to that. So from 1969 until 1997, for those 19 years, they almost made as much as they made in those 19 years just in 1 year when they came out with this small 50 new pence. How small is it? Well, they went from 13.5 grams to 8 grams. So it's more than a 50% deduction, probably a 60% deduction.